Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Movie Blues. I am your host DS Lyons, and once again I will be coming at you today with 15 more spoiler-free recommendations for found footage horror. Now if you're an avid patron of the channel, you'll know that this is number 76 through 90 of my found footage recommendations. I am, of course, building up power to drop a list of 100 once I get there, but for now, I'm only doing 15. Now I know I may have promised you guys a list of more like 20 to 25 this time, but I decided to space things out a little bit more, mostly so I could get some more content out to you guys, but also because researching this list with a newborn baby has been fascinating.
Hi, Daddy. Say hi, Daddy.
Hi, Dad.
Whose goddamn white baby is that?
And frankly, I had to watch more movies than I ever thought humanly possible for this list of 15, because as I keep going and identifying more hidden gems, I also keep having to watch movies that are hidden turds. So real quick before we get this list started, let's take a look at all of the movies that I watched for this list that didn't make the cut. This one was just okay. The ending was pretty good. That was like Paranormal Activity. That one actually wasn't found footage fully. Boring, terrible boring, really not worth it. Kind of funny. Brian Loves You, sort of interesting, but went nowhere. The Nothing was nothing. First Summoning, boring. Deadware, okay, but fun. You know, Live Scream, okay, but fun. Alien BTS, terrible. I Joined a Cult, weird. Looky Lou, just terrible. Screaming Silent, I barely remember. Focusing Effect. Yeah, so there you go. That's like 12 hours of my life that I wasted that you got to experience in 60 seconds. Enjoy. Now that we're done with all that bantha poodoo, let's get to the real list of 15 found footage hidden gems you need to see now.
Invited.
Jessica! Jessica! As if the idea of a Zoom wedding isn't horrifying enough, Invited from 2024 takes this concept to brutal and nerve-shredding extremes. When a reluctant mother attends her daughter's Zoom elopement, she and the rest of her family in attendance quickly realize that the groom is part of a bizarre Russian cult with deadly intentions. This movie is actually written and produced by the husband and wife duo who created the Found TV app, and this isn't a case of those who can't do make apps, because this was easily one of the most audacious and excellent found footage horror films I've seen in recent memory. Invited goes to places that not a lot of other found footage filmmakers would dare go, producing some absolutely diabolical sequences in this movie that had my jaw on the floor in horror and disgust. This is the kind of found footage experience that will have you gasping and clapping alone in your living room, and is one of the most graphic yet rewarding horror films to come out of this genre in a minute. Rich character writing and a handful of wildly shocking moments makes Invited a new standout in the genre that just keeps on giving.
DASHCAM.
2020's COVID-era chiller Host showed up earlier in my found footage list videos. A movie which I thought was an actually scary, actually savage screen life horror experience that left a huge impression on me at the time. Well, it looks like director Rob Savage has continued his hot streak with the vicious, tactile, and high-octane horror movie DASHCAM. Following an insipidly annoying anti-masker live streamer during the height of lockdown, this may feel like one of those found footage movies all but begging you to turn it off in its first half an hour. But those brave enough to endure lead character Annie's right-wing shit-posting shenanigans,
"This place is like a living hell for something with a 99.6 recovery rate, man,"
will be rewarded with a truly unexpected and honestly amazing horror film. It is beyond impressive and truly admirable how much mayhem, gore, and creature effects moments they were able to capture from a POV camera on Annie's hat, along with a camera strapped to the dashboard of her car, leaving me often wondering how on earth they actually captured some of this footage without a massive multi-million-dollar budget. Mean-spirited, high-energy, and full of batshit developments that had me grinning ear to ear, DASHCAM is a movie that starts as an annoying and headache-inducing experience, but eventually grows into a phantasmagoria of bombastic and bloody POV horror. This movie was unapologetically punk rock, and feels like a music video mixed with a great segment from the VHS anthology series. A truly brutal and wholly worthwhile found footage hidden gem.
Don't peek.
A month ago, I covered the found footage film Looky Loo, a bare-bones POV found footage horror movie that followed a stalker as he executed his creepy crimes. Sadly, that movie did nothing for me because it offered no new twists, perspectives, or ideas to the genre, sticking solely to footage of a stalker looking into people's windows for no good reason other than he's a stalker. Thankfully, I managed to check out the new 2025 found footage film Don't Peek for this list, which is proof positive that with some character motivation, a strong script, and some actually interesting mythology for the killer, you can make a good found footage stalker movie that packs an emotional and visceral punch. Don't Peek follows the Winters, a married couple in California who are struggling to launch their YouTube channel until they discover a box of mysterious VHS tapes in their new house. These tapes prove to be an unsweet record of brutal murder as the Winters become entangled with the mysterious killer in a dangerous game that is great for their YouTube channel, but not so great for not being murdered. Some of the scenes from this movie reminded me of the found footage moments from Scott Derrickson's horror classic Sinister, and while this movie isn't nearly as scary as that one, you'll find yourself consistently unnerved by the killer's spine-tingling videotapes, as well as the increasingly paranoid and frightening plot developments that play out after the Winters begin their investigation. A tightly scripted, well-acted, and ultimately chilling found footage experience that will wash away the sins of serial looky-loo stalker found footage movies that feel like they don't go anywhere. Don't Peek is as creepy as it is satisfying.
Punishment Park.
There are few films that exist in our culture's history as pressing and relevant as Punishment Park, a 1971 found footage mockumentary that takes place in an alternate America where prisons are overrun, the populace is sick to death of their fascist overlords, and anti-war protesters are being treated with malice and execution. So, yeah, an alternate America. In this all-too-relevant American hellscape, political prisoners are offered a choice between incarceration or 3 days in Punishment Park, a 50-mile gauntlet through the desert where the goal is to reach a mounted American flag on top of a mountain to attain their freedom, or die trying. For any American, this movie reflects an eerily familiar political unrest, full of dialogue exchanges and imagery that is hair-raisingly close to our current dystopia.
At another time, the honorable thing or the right thing to do might be to be a policeman or to be president. Right now, I think the honorable thing to do is to be a criminal.
This is a scathing indictment of police brutality, governmental control, and a foreboding prediction of the downfall of American exceptionalism that feels all too real. A maddening and deeply intuitive look into the evils of the so-called greatest country on earth, and a film that still acts as a perfect mirror to our crumbling society over 50 years after its release. Punishment Park is a pivotal and foundational found footage movie that is both a riveting historical document and a prescient prediction of things to come.
The Mirror.
Hello, I'm Steve, and this is our application for the $1 million Paranormal Challenge.
There are few found footage movies that have unnerved me the way that The Mirror managed to, even despite its low budget and simple premise. Much like Invited earlier on this list, The Mirror is chock full of shocking violence and suffocating dread that left me palpitating and anxious in a way that only the best horror achieves. Mike Flanagan's film Oculus, also about a haunted mirror, is such a great execution of this premise that I thought this movie was doomed to be outpaced before it even began. But here we are. We now have a second, truly excellent, unsettling horror movie about a paranormal piece of glass. In an attempt to win $1 million contest seeking proof of the paranormal, 3 flatmates order a haunted mirror online and end up getting exactly what they asked for. No use in spoiling this any further, but this movie was proof positive that a simple premise executed by talented filmmakers can override any budget and still burrow deep under your skin. Maybe I'm just getting soft in my old age, but to me, The Mirror was one of the most actually tense and terrifying movies I've seen for any of these lists. If you want to see a truly scary found footage movie, then all you need to do is look in the mirror.
The Alien Report.
Not since the pivotal 90s sci-fi film Fire in the Sky have I seen a more compelling and unsettling portrayal of alien abduction than what was achieved in the sci-fi horror film The Alien Report. This is an experimental found footage film chronicling a lifelong alien abductee as he rigs a secret camera to his hearing aid to record his extraterrestrial experiences. While this movie is more of a mood piece and a special effects showcase than an actual 3-act film, it manages to present some profoundly unnerving and insanely realistic vignettes that portray the body horrors, mental anguish, and twisted experiments being performed in these reported abductions. The alien footage here was created using allegedly real accounts of abduction that have been reported for decades, offering up what could possibly be the most accurate illustration of abduction accounts ever put to film. What this movie lacks in actual plot, it makes up for with style, incredibly slick homemade VFX, and an overall paranoid and horrifying vibe that will leave you praying that you'll never have to experience anything like this. Whether alien abduction is real or not is still, of course, up for debate, but there's no doubt in my mind that The Alien Report deserves the same cult following as movies like The Fourth Kind and Fire in the Sky as one of the most important visual representations of this reported phenomena ever put to screen. Now, get out and support this film so the creators can produce the second and third parts of the series that they teased at the end of the movie.
The Devil's Doorway.
God Almighty! God Almighty!
If you've watched my other list videos, then you'll know that some of my favorite found footage movies are period pieces. The Devil's Doorway is no exception to the rule, taking place in Ireland in 1960 with film stock made to mimic old 16mm cameras. This is a convincingly authentic little horror movie, and while it doesn't reinvent the wheel, it has some maturely executed scares and some solid lead performances from its committed cast. The film's setting comes from a creepy part of Irish history, taking place at a Magdalen laundry, a sort of halfway house/monastery that were known for their heinous and infamous practices and treatments towards the wayward women inside. When bloody tears are witnessed falling from the statue of Mary, 2 priests are dispatched to a laundry that is chocked to the brim with dark secrets and startling horrors. A little bit of The Exorcist, a little bit of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and you've got a simple but well-executed religious horror movie with an impressively detailed period setting. The Devil's Doorway is another great entry into the found footage religious possession subgenre, and should be commended for using a unique time period and setting to great effect.
Hungerford.
So this is Hungerford.
I always appreciate found footage movies like 2014's Hungerford that try to do a little bit of everything by mixing genres and offering up memorable set pieces and big swings at large-scale action. Reminiscent of other sci-fi action found footage movies like The Phoenix Incident or Jerusalem, Hungerford is a super ambitious low-budget film with blockbuster aspirations. Documenting the fallout from an alien invasion on a group of 4 friends, this is a satisfying sci-fi action romp with a unique B-movie villain and some escalatingly awesome set pieces. I can't believe I'd never seen or even heard of this movie, and it made me long for a time when found footage movies like this would have theatrical runs, because this would have rocked on a big screen. Now, if you can somehow find this movie, God bless you, it's a real challenge, especially if you live in the US, but I assure you it is worth the effort spent. Check out Hungerford before the invasion begins.
Occult.
If you're a fan of my found footage recommendation videos, then you won't be shocked to find yet another Koji Shiriashi film popping up in this list. From Noroi the Curse to Uru Ora to A Record of Sweet Murder to his series Senritsu Kaiki File Koasugi, Shiriashi's projects keep making their way onto this channel because, in my mind, Koji is the most prolific found footage filmmaker maybe in history. I mean, this dude is basically the Stephen King of found footage in terms of sheer volume of output. And 2009's Occult doesn't shake this trend, offering up a mysterious and grim story that begins with a series of freak murders in a Japanese park that then somehow morphs into a story about UFOs, parasitic leeches, mysterious gods, and all manner of cosmic fuckery. If you've never seen any of Koji's films, I wouldn't start here when there's movies like Noroi the Curse to explore, but for the Shiriashi faithful, this is another strange and oddly humorous tale of the paranormal with the director's signature style all over it. While Occult doesn't even get close to answering many of the questions that it poses, the mystery box element of this story kept me engaged and guessing until the final frame. Just make sure you stay to the very end for a truly Shiriashi-style post-credits scene, and try to enjoy the ride because this is one of the director's weirdest and most memorable works yet. Another puzzling, creative, and wildly unique entry into the filmography of potentially this genre's greatest artist.
Into the Storm.
After so much low-budget fare ingested while researching these videos for the past several years, it felt really good to revisit one of the few big-budget studio found footage movies to get a full-scale theatrical release with 2014's Into the Storm. This movie has some great camera work, killer tornado VFX, and an honestly great cast, like Disbro from The Hobbit and Dislady from The Walking Dead. Into the Storm has some honestly fantastic set pieces, which are really enhanced by the found footage format. I would honestly rather watch this movie than the recent Twisters, especially because this movie is much more frightening and the storms are way more vicious and cool. I mean, dude, look at the friggin' flame twister. This shit rules. An earnest and incredibly well-made disaster movie with some of the craziest effects ever seen in this genre. This movie is probably the second best tornado movie behind The Goat, and it's absolutely worth your time if you're even remotely a fan of tornadoes, found footage, and disaster movies in general. It's time to get swept up by Into the Storm.
Spectre.
If you're into movies like The Outwaters, Skinamarink, and Yellow Brick Road, then boy, I've got a new movie for you to check out. And if you haven't seen those movies, then translation, this movie is extremely fucking weird. Spectre is experimental, its color grading is wild, its plot is a bit nonsensical, but there is something undeniably gripping about this movie. It takes place in the bizarre fictional town of Middle Ground, in a world racked by fictional foreign wars and bizarre weather events. One such event, a tsunami, is about to hit Middle Ground at midnight, and we follow the wayward teenage youth of the town on the night of the storm. The vibe is apocalyptic and surreal as the residents of Middle Ground party like it's their last day on Earth by taking a new experimental drug that basically looks like alien fish eggs in a bottle, and yeah, I mean, none of this is ever explained. What follows might be a hallucination, or it may truly depict the end of our dimension, but either way, this is one of the weirdest, most eerie, and strangely compelling found footage films I've ever seen. This movie resembles the small town setup and large-scale destruction of the Bay, if the Bay chugged a bottle of purple Dimetap and swallowed a handful of benzos. I guarantee you that this will not be for everyone, but if you want a dreamy and unforgettably odd experience that lingered in my mind for quite some time after the credits rolled, then you've got to check out Spectre.
My Little Eye.
My Little Eye is a 2002 hidden camera Big Brother reality show type found footage movie, featuring a handful of horny and broed out early 2000s chads as they spend 6 months in an isolated cabin in the woods. If they manage to survive their 6-month stint, they will be rewarded with $1 million as a group to split amongst themselves, so long as nobody leaves the house before the 6-month period is up. Soon, the shadowy producers of the show start to mess around with the minds of our real-world style cast, causing everyone to slowly unhinge and turn on each other for the grand prize. This is a pretty old found footage movie, and as such, it has a real early 2000s MTV vibe that I found rather nostalgic. Originally, this film was available on DVD with a function to control the cameras yourself, switching around the house and watching the movie unfold from your own point of view, which I think is such a fun and awesome idea, and while that feature is no longer available, the movie is edited together and can be found for free on YouTube, so I can only really review the fully edited project here, but regardless, this isn't a deep thinking piece or something that changed the genre forever, but it's instead a horny slasher movie with an increasingly tense vibe as housemates begin to unravel, like any good reality TV show. A solid budget, fun setting, and even a surprise appearance by Oscar award winner Bradley Cooper makes My Little Eye a fun and occasionally surprising hour and a half that feels like a crossbreed between Big Brother and Squid Game. For a chance at $1 million and a fun night on the couch, check out My Little Eye.
Last radio call.
There are honestly so many haunted asylum found footage movies, most of which are terrible, but if you want one that is actually well made and rather unique, look no further than The Last Radio Call. Sarah is the subject of a documentary on the disappearance of her husband David, a police officer who is investigating an abandoned mental hospital before he suddenly vanished. We follow Sarah as the mysteries around the Yorktown Memorial Hospital only seem to get stranger and darker as she digs deeper. This movie hits all the right notes for a simple found footage horror film, from multiple sources of footage like body cams and security tapes, to some interesting and ominous lore surrounding whatever may be haunting the halls of the hospital itself. This is another selection on the list that won't reinvent the genre or change your life, but it's a solidly plotted and efficiently scary movie that has no fat on the bone and even has some pretty shocking moments and reveals. I don't always love jump scares, but this movie had a handful of good ones that reminded me of moments from movies like Lake Mungo, to even a moment that reminded me of found footage legend Koji Shirayoshi's films. Anyway, for a breezy and scary hour and a half of haunted asylum goodness, check out The Last Radio Call now.
Hangman.
While this one didn't offer up much out of the ordinary for the genre, Hangman from 2016 managed to be a rather efficient, ultimately unsettling suburban stalker film that I'm still kind of thinking about to this day.
To this day! To this day! To this day!
The Miller family returns from a 2-week vacation to find that their family home has been ransacked and turned upside down by a mysterious squatter. Any homeowner is going to feel relatable chills watching this movie as the Hangman invades the Miller's life by setting up a surveillance station in the attic of the family's home, where he slips in and out of all day and night long to stalk different members of the family. The Hangman begins to monitor the Millers with a litany of spy cameras he sets up in every room of the house while the family was away, and that is the POV of the entire film. The Hangman himself is a pretty unique and vicious antagonist, playing with the family for weeks by exposing their secrets and planting evidence throughout their house to unravel the Millers as they endure their invasive nightmare. Creepy, convincingly acted, and eventually quite shocking, Hangman is a movie that doesn't pull any punches as it portrays the disintegration of a normal family at the hands of a prolific maniac. This one will have you paranoid in your own home, and if you can muster up the courage, you'll be checking your attic when the credits finally roll.
Name the demon.
The demonic possession found footage subgenre is more flooded than the Titanic at this point, and for what it's worth, on my last list video I recommended the possession movie Godforsaken, and even that was better than this one. But Jesus Christ, if you still absolutely need to see another possession movie in this lifetime, check out Name the Demon. The acting might be a little amateurish, and the film doesn't pack many or real surprises, but what this movie lacked in artistry, it more than made up for with gore, great kills, and excellent homemade practical effects. This movie pulled off a handful of effective scares, and the possessed woman's makeup and prosthetics were well done and downright scary. Oh, and this movie had a fun and unique little detail where the battery display of the camera actually went down as the movie went on in real time for the entire duration of the film. And yeah, they didn't even draw attention to it at all. Nobody was like, oh, we only have 5% left, hurry up. None of that happened. And, you know, that's kind of a nice, subtle, and effective use of the genre. Name the Demon might not be the best, or even the 5th best demonic possession found footage movie, but its focus on character depth and its eventual torrents of blood made it an exorcism worth attending. And that's it, folks. That's the 15 next found footage adventures that you have to take. What are your favorite found footage movies that didn't make any of my list thus far? Put them in the comments below, or check out my channel for the rest of the recommendation videos. Until then, thanks for tuning into the Movie Blues, and we will see you next time on the show. Bye!
Because I love you, and I love you, and I love you, and I've seen all your movies, and I love your movies, and I think you're the best.